When an emergency occurs, it's a race against time for emergency responders. Working with 911 call takers, they rely on receiving accurate information to handle a situation as quickly and safely as possible. It's even more important when the emergency involves a senior or someone with a disability who may need additional assistance. With that in mind, the city has recently launched the Voluntary Emergency Registry to help them when they need it the most.
The goal is to give first responders advance notice about the types of assistance that people with disabilities might need. So for example, if they are responding to a fire in a high-rise building, the first responders can identify that someone on the third floor uses a wheelchair. So the goal is to enhance safety of our residents with disabilities.
The Voluntary Registry is completely confidential. Only first responders would have access to the information. To ensure accuracy, it's also important that registrants update the information on an annual basis.
You would identify your home address, and if you prefer, also your work address. And then you would identify the types of assistance that you would need and the types of barriers that you might experience. As far as we're aware, we are one of the first big urban cities to have a registry of this type.
You can complete the application online or visit either the Mayor's Office for Persons with Disabilities office in City Hall or any senior services office to register in person or apply by phone. The Voluntary Emergency Registry is the most recent initiative the City of Chicago has established to make Chicago an accessible city for all its residents. This year marks the 20th anniversary of the city's founding of the Advocacy Office, which coincides with the anniversary of another landmark.
It's the 20th anniversary of the Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities, and it's also the 20th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act, which is the most sweeping civil rights law that protects the rights of people with disabilities. Since the Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities was created 20 years ago, we've really, I think, made significant strides in terms of increasing accessibility for residents of the city of Chicago. Chicago has 100% of its bus fleet fully accessible for individuals with disabilities, not just low-floor ramps, but also audio-visual announcements for passengers who are deaf or blind can see and hear stop announcements. We are increasing the accessibility of our rail stations. As you know, the Brown Line has been completely reconstructed to make all of those stations now accessible, which is great. We have some of the strongest code requirements around housing, accessible housing for people with disabilities. We have made tremendous strides in terms of making our public events accessible, and I think we're really looking at also at the area of technology too, and working to make sure that people with disabilities can access technology. Of course, we're not done, and I will never say that we're done or completely satisfied, because we definitely have still a ways to go, but I think that we can boast, one of the strongest local accessibility codes in the country.